like Priscilla should be. There it goes. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Cassandra Swartzwelder. I am the borrower at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Today, I wanted to talk about Contu and copyright in Rapido. Okay, so at Cal Poly, our copyright queue consists of items that need approval for copyright, as well as multiple or duplicate requests. So we have a copyright borrowing rule that sends multiple request items to the copyright queue. With this rule, you can build sets based in the label or request status. The documentation for that can be found here. So here is a request that went to the copyright queue. As you can see, it has the copyright label and it needs to be approved. From here, I can approve it or use the Reprints Desk app to fill it. So we have, so what we experienced at Cal Poly is that we started noticing that there were multiple requests, either for the same item or say like a book with multiple chapters that we're getting requests. So we kind of wanted to keep an eye on that. So we decided to come up with a borrowing multiple requests rule. And as you can see in this picture here, Nikki did all of this for us and she set up the parameters. So the parameters are the patron. So one patron can't request more than one chapter or article from a book or a volume. And it's within the last like 3 months. So all of these will get marked in our system as multiple requests. And so it'll let me know to go back, check, and see if this patron has requested these or this item multiple times, and also keep an eye on how many chapters did they request out of this book, or how many articles did they request out of this journal. So that this has been a big help. So with the multiple request label from here, I will check, see if the patron has requested the item before, and if it falls within the Contu guidelines. If it is a duplicate request, I will cancel the item as a duplicate. If it is another chapter of a book or an article that falls within guidelines, I'll approve it. But if it violates copyright, then I'll cancel it. So here is an example of the same patron who requested the same article. As you can see, it's like within 7-8 days of each other because it's not getting filled fast enough. So they requested it again. And so here I can go back and check to see if they already requested this item. And I know that, oh, wait, there's already something because it's marked. So I would just cancel it and say, nope, this is a duplicate request. Okay, so with the implementation of Rapido at Cal Poly, we decided to continue doing copyright through Iliad. Any requests that went to copyright were rejected to Iliad as last resort. And then our copyright was done through Iliad until the reprints desk was developed and working properly. The reprints desk app automatically should deliver the item to the patron. So now all of our copyright is done through the reprints desk app. So even though Cal Poly rejected all our copyright to go to Iliad and we used the reprints app, I still wanted to make sure that we didn't miss anything. while Ex Libris worked out all the copyright kinks. With this, I used Chris's directions to create a copyright report, or a Contu copyright report. There were items that slipped through the cracks and were not caught. So this could be due to the request not being in the completed status. So here you can see there were 8 requests that, that slipped through that I needed to pay copyright on. And so I conducted a report from, I think it was June 1st, 2022 to 12/31/2022. And so this was the final report. I took this report and I sent it to Gordon, who works at Reprints Desk. And then I got estimate on prices. And so I received this estimate the next day. So from Gordon. And then, so now that the Reprints Desk Article Galaxy app is available, Cal Poly uses it for all the copyright. With the app, it gives the copyright price front and center, and then the items are delivered directly to the patron. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
So with the mediation rules in place, how many mediations are you having to make? Is it a lot? Are you having to kind of insert yourself in very many of the requests, or are the vast majority of requests just flowing through without mediation?
So you're talking about just in general mediations?
No, specifically your
for copyright.
Copyright.
I mean, we'll get a few duplicates because, well, especially right now, because Cal Poly's, we shut off, we're not doing physical borrowing. So right now, because we're going through a renovation, we're moving offices. So we don't know where we're gonna be the last 3-4 weeks, and we don't know how long it's gonna take until they have us up and running. So right now we're seeing a lot of requests. Well, not a lot, I shouldn't say, because we kind of warned them that we wouldn't be doing it. But even before, there were multiple requests that were coming through. That's why this rule was created. It's not too many. I mean, I don't have a direct number of requests, but it was enough for us to be like, wait, we're seeing the same requests coming through. Maybe we should keep a better eye on this, so that we're not filling the same things over and over, or we're not violating copyright. Right. Yeah, so that was the reason. It's not an extreme amount. No, it's not an extreme amount, but we do have patrons who, like I said, will want the item very quickly, and so they'll request the same thing. Or there's people who want, multiple chapters from a book, and we have to, send a cancellation notice letting them know that we can only copy so much of the book because it violates copyright.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Priscilla.
How often do you your copyright reports? Do you do them monthly, quarterly?
So
yearly?
with this, so at first I was like, okay, I pushed all of my copyright to Iliad, and we do Iliad every year. So I was like, okay, I pushed it all to Iliad, but I'm still kind of worried that things fell through the cracks with everything going on. Copyright was very vague in the beginning. So that's why we pushed it over. So we made sure that we're doing everything correctly. And so, well, now with this, I want to make sure, like I said, that we're doing everything. So I decided, I talked to Chris and we're like, okay, we'll do, 6 months and then I'll do it again. But since I do everything now through reprints, it's monthly. So anytime I buy something, we get a monthly bill from them. So I don't have to worry about sending it off or anything like that. The only reason why I sent it off to reprints this time is because we didn't purchase it through reprints to begin with. because it wasn't ready. The app wasn't ready. But yeah, so every month we get that bill and we pay it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yes.
follow up. And then I might have missed it. Those, I think you said it was 8 that slipped through the cracks. Was that before the Contu fix or?
To be honest, I'm
I
not
was just
sure because we did it from the start of Rapido to
Oh, that's right.
December.
The dates. So that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
and I think they fixed it like October, November, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I didn't really start using it until 2023, I would say, the app. Yeah.
Okay, good
Yeah.
to know. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Do you still keep track with copyright and Elliot?
Yes. Yeah. So like the bills coming. So that was another question that I was kind of wondering from the group is like, when does everyone else do copyright? You know, because it changes every January and it at Cal Poly, it was always done like in like the summertime, like yearly. So I always thought that was kind of weird, but it's just been trickled down from staff person to staff person. So we kind of just did it like that. So I kind of wanted to change it to, you know, every January or every December so that we have the full year because it starts over in January. But right now it's currently from like, well, January to January is basically, or not January, June to June is basically when we do it.
Is that because I'm sorry, the fiscal, like, did your administration want to pay it because of fiscal?
I don't know why. I mean, even Chris inherited that, so
Oh, okay,
I don't
gotcha.
know if he knows why it was done like that. So, it could be, that's definitely,
I think that's the.
is that what you guys do?
Fiscal?
We do it annual.
No, but in July, because do they want to pay it in July?
I pay it as an annual invoice, not as fiscal, not with our fiscal.
Oh.
Oh, okay, so you, okay, yeah.
So if the item goes through copyright through Alma and it can be fulfilled through Rapido, and then pushed to Iliad as a last resort, do you have to pay copyright dues twice? How does that work?
No, you should only be paying it once. So if it goes, well, yeah, you should only be paying it once. You shouldn't be paying it twice. It's only going to be paid for if it gets filled. So I mean, like I said, I use the reprints app. If it doesn't get filled in reprints, then I would go to copyright and get it filled through copyright. But yeah, so I'm trying to, yeah, so you only should pay for it once. And it doesn't matter if it goes to, because I don't do that workflow because it gets paid through the reprints desk. And then, like I said, if it doesn't get paid through reprints, then it gets paid through copyright. So it wouldn't affect that. Does that make sense?
Well, because I'm asking, like, if it's gonna go, if the person requested it through Rapido, so that counts as your rule of 5, and it doesn't get fulfilled, then it pushes to Iliad as a last resort. Would it take, since it didn't get fulfilled in Rapido, does that take that out of our rule of 5?
I don't know. That's a good ex libris question or Chris question.
If the status says like not like sent to partner, because in Rapido, if it gets sent to Iliad as a last resort, the last status in Rapido is request sent to partner because Iliad as a last resort is a partner. So it shouldn't charge copyright on
Unless
the
it's
status
completed.
Unless it says request completed,
Yeah.
is my guess. Because the last status on it, if it gets pushed to Iliad, the status will, on the borrowing request, will say request sent to partner, and it shouldn't charge you copyright on a status that's not fully completed. My guess. Chris, I don't know if you want to chime in.
I mean, I've checked to be 100% sure, but that does.
Would it count as your, say, I requested 5 journals from the journal in New York.
Shabbat.
So that didn't count as my 6th journal, right?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to.
Would it, I mean, even if it didn't get completed, will that still count towards this?
So I was wondering if Chris could clarify or confirm, but my understanding when I was working on copyright this year, after everything going on in Rapido was, when it looked like to me is as the titles clear Rapido, they're already clearing copyright in Rapido. And then they're going off to the next, Aliad as the last resort, which it's the next lender. So the clearance is in Rapido, not Aliad,
Yeah,
correct?
I mean, that's how,
So I'm gonna be paying for it. It's gonna be on my list in.
yeah, it should be.
Number 5. That makes sense? So I
But if
think
it pushes through Iliad, and it counts on Iliad,
it's already counted.
But
in
it's
my
a
list
lender,
in
or
Rapido.
it's it's a lender, so you're
Yeah.
already paid for it. So it's already marked in Rapido.
copyright management system so that you don't count it twice.
Yeah.
With you, I was right there.
It's not gonna go to Iliad unless it's already cleared the copyright step in
That's
Rapido.
what had me.
Want it,
I was like,
just pay attention to what it. So, let's say.
And that's another reason why I looked at Chris's instructions on how to do Contu copyright, is because I wanted to make sure I caught everything. Okay, so next is Leah and Allyce.
thank you, Cassandra. That's really good, informative.
Hello, I am Allyce Ondricka. I am the lead of interlibrary services over at San Francisco State.
Hi, I'm Leah Joy. I'm a resource sharing specialist at San Francisco State. So this one is less a presentation and more kind of a brainstorming session, because this is something that we've been having problems with, and I've heard from a lot of you that you've also been having problems with understaffing. So a little bit about our journey here. So for San Francisco State, we used to have 3 full-time staff members in interlibrary services. And then in March of 2022, Joe quit. He was the head. And then in, I believe, August of last year, Andrew had inherited the lead position and he quit. So it was me for almost the entire fall semester. I was the only person in our department until we hired Leah late last November, thankfully. But it has been a journey. We have had, with fewer staff, we have had the same number of student assistants. They don't really want to give us a lot more. And we used to be able to, because San Francisco State, you know, we've been pretty high demand overall. We were able to just zip through all those requests with all that staffing and get it all done quickly. But all of that changed. So would you like to speak on how it is now? When the Fire Nation attacked. So Allyce has been with the library 5 years, but only in the lead position for 1 year. They could have fooled me. They're fantastic. I am the newish staff member and had a lot to learn. So when I came here, it was almost a step backwards, because now there was time out of your schedule to train me, to get me up to speed on all of this. And even now we're still trying to catch up and not where the department was with 3 full-time staff members. So we have lending turned off most of the time when we don't have student assistants to help us with kind of the more menial tasks that are needed to get that done. Because we are relying really heavily on those student assistants just to keep up. Yeah, and for a while there, I was having some health issues, so it was more like there were 1.5 staff members. And poor Leah, brand new. Yeah, no, I was the half. Poor Leah, brand new to the position, having to deal with that as well. So we have a few questions, just to kind of brainstorm, like, just a show of hands, how many people are currently in a unit that you would say is understaffed? You don't have to be shy. Okay. How many people, leave those hands up, how many people are currently in or have previously been in a unit that is understaffed? Yes, almost everyone, yes. So hopefully, we have some good ideas here and kind of brainstorm some ways that other libraries have dealt with this.
Start with one, and I'm happy to run the mic around the room if people are quiet speakers like me. So how has this changed the way that you interact with other units across the library? Over to you.
Well, I'm also wondering how many of our units are part of your access services department.
Ours is.
Yeah, we're part of
I know.
access services.
Oh, okay.
I was-
Wait, no, it's okay. So ILL is combined with meter resources and also with access services. So we're 3 in 1. So we're sharing our students. Students are trained across.
Interesting. Yeah, we have, we're part of access services, but we're kind of separate, from circulation and shelving. We're also under that umbrella. We have been kind of borrowing student assistants from the other departments, which is definitely an option. Especially, if they have students that want more hours than they're allowed to have. So yeah, are there any units, ILL units that are just completely standalone? We have one, okay, a few, okay.
1-person units.
Yeah.
Yes. that would be-
We are sort of standalone. We don't really circulate or but it's a little bit blurred now because one, the pandemic happened. We started doing document delivery and which was before the pandemic because that actually came out of one of our conferences. So we went back and we started doing document delivery. So then during the pandemic, of course, that got even more robust, I guess you would say. So we're sharing kind of is in charge of the document delivery, which is the main way that our items circulate now. So
Interesting.
and that stayed that way even after the pandemic or after the lockdown. So what we've done, and then when we went to Rapid ILL, we got permission, kind of because of that blurred line, to pull in some of the other LSSs are now helping us in the evening, during the evening and weekends. They're trained now to do especially some lending. So it's gotten a little, it's more like we gobbled them up though.
Yeah.
Are you guys located with your circulation or with your, I didn't
No.
catch.
We have a separate office on a different floor.
Oh, okay.
We're with at Northridge, we're with our circulation as well, but we're like separate like you. They do help us out. They keep some of our stuff at their front desk for pickup. But when I was in your position, kind of what the library did was hire other LSS ones and or LSSs and from other departments. Like Melissa came from circulation and she ended up becoming permanent. I had someone else in the maps collection helping me part-time too. So it was a great help to have them part-time and it wasn't even full-time. So just to have a little bit of help part-time is something. I think it's something you can ask for.
Yeah.
Especially
especially if you have some people who are interested in learning some other learning how to do some other tasks, it's good for them too, because then, I mean, I'm gonna retire soon, and I'm sure one of them would like to, move into a better position or better, but different position.
I think if you're looking for how you mentioned, like maybe temporary fixes right now is pulling people in. But, and I don't know too much of your situation, but I did hear you mention slightly like perhaps there's resistance to help to post a position, to hire another staff. I don't know your situation, but something that might help is gathering information from other resource sharing departments. How many staff members do you have? How many students do you have? What's your structure like to present it to whoever that person in administration would be as a kind of like, hey, the work you're asking me to do, this is what other libraries are equipped with. I'd like, for us to be matched, for us to be equal. It doesn't hurt to have that information handy.
We send out a poll, I hope you'll all participate.
Yeah.
Actually, your circulation numbers, I think that's what got us, to be able to, and I mean, it isn't as formal as I'm making it sound. Now, some people's job descriptions are now, like on the other shifts, it's in their JD that they are helping part-time. I'd say dedicate a certain number of hours to resource sharing and document delivery. And the reason that we were able to do that is that they can see that most of our stuff is circulating through resource sharing. The numbers have like eclipsed the normal circulation numbers.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on. Yes.
Behind.
Me?
Yes.
Sorry. I forgot. Oh, I remember. You mentioned that you rely heavily on your student assistants. Do you have them help you with, I know some libraries have them also do like the receiving.
Oh, yes, they do that.
Yeah, that's good. But I'm sure when they're out, when they're busy with finals, it can only help you so much.
Yeah, I think that something in general that could help, since I think most of our departments probably have student assistants, like trusting them more and giving them more tasks, I think could be a really big help.
Yeah.
Because so many people in this room start as student assistants.
Yes.
So,
So like we share, so for the most part, when the students get hired, because we're a part of active services as well, and we're in the same portion, so we do desk shifts as well as active services, so we also have digital media equipment in the same area. And basically, when student assistants get hired, they get hired for 12 months, and we allow them to go for us. But when they become an SA2, which to us acknowledges that they have motivation, they have interest in doing more work, then we share them with access services for ILL, and they give them shifts for ILL specifically. But, so I was trying to think, because when Megan left, we had an emergency hire, which felt like it was only a half-time person because it was also combined with a position in acquisitions. And it was just, and as soon as that happened, and I realized we weren't filling the request, despite being humble, I feel like it's a relatively smaller CSU comparatively to everybody else. But the fact that we were taking so long to fill requests, pulling my hair out, extending blending or extending the periods, it's like, it's gonna take 8 days for me to do this. And Iliad specifically, I don't know if that's an option in Rapido or if it just cycles out after so many days automatically.
Now.
You can change that.
Yeah.
Each campus.
Or, the request can cycle out.
Like they time out.
Yeah, that's like pause, so it's like some, pods sit for 4 days usually is the normal. And then after 4 days, if no one's touched it, they cycle out. But I got stuck for a bit, but it's for a while.
Cool.
Yeah, I have some.
Just kidding, huh?
Oh, yeah. All right, we're being played off the stage, I think.
We'll continue talking on the boat.
Everyone, we will bring this discussion, since there's a lot more to talk about and a lot more libraries dealing with this issue. We'll bring this discussion to a later forum. So thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, clearly this is a fantastically interesting topic to everyone, and I hate to be the one to, shut down the wonderful therapy session, but I'm gonna talk to you about patron query letters. So I know I'm also standing between you and a boat ride, so I will try to be nice and quick. I'm Nikki DeMoville. I'm the coordinator for electronic resources, acquisitions, resource sharing, and discovery at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And the basic first question I think you would have, if you hadn't perhaps already been using them, is what is a patron query letter and what does it do? So basically, just think of your letter templates in Iliad. It's essentially the same function, only it's in Alma. So you can communicate directly with the patron. It's linked to the ILL request. It includes the request information. So very handy if you are still doing a workflow where you are copying and pasting request information into an email letter in a separate system. This saves you from having to do that. Very handy. You can have 3 lines of pre-written text. Every time you have a free text note field where you can put additional details, and you can have up to 30 unique letters. So it's pretty slick. As far as setting them up, I am not going to try to cover setup in 10 minutes. Just know that there's some great instructions in the CSU Wiki that Chris put together, that there are links in the Ex Libris Knowledge Center, and I put a slide at the end that has the URLs for all of those things, so you can go straight there. You need to have administrator roles. Back to Chris's talk of earlier, you would have to be a general system administrator, a fulfillment administrator, or I think a letters administrator. I will touch on a few things if you're customizing them that are not necessarily obvious. First is that to customize your patron query letters, if you're not worried about the look and feel and having your logo, as far as the actual text of them goes, you don't have to touch the XSL at all. It's all done in the labels, which is super user-friendly and nice. And so there's a few things in the labels you might want to look at. So one is the subject line. It might not be immediately obvious that you could have 30 different patron query letters with 30 different subject lines that are very specific to what that letter is about. So as an example, we have this generic, regarding your library loan request, and that it includes the request number. But we have a specific letter where we want to confirm for off-campus delivery that we have the right address for our patrons. So we actually changed that subject line to make it really clear to our patrons that this is about your off-campus delivery request. So hopefully just try to get their attention a little bit more. And then there's a recent address from field change. This is something, if you happen to have a setup where your resource sharing library is also your main library, then you know that the patron communications email address, that you can only have one, and it's going to be your circulation department, which means that all those resource sharing letters were coming from your circulation department and not necessarily getting back to you. So now you can use this address from field in the resource sharing letters, put your own address in there, and then it comes from you and it comes back to you. So that is like amazing. You should do it. And then the other one is, you might not have thought of, is the CC or BCC field. If it's important for your workflow to maybe collect those letters in one place so that you have kind of a written record of your patron communications in a shared inbox, you can actually add like your ILS department address in there if you want. Just, it's a sort of a workflow thing. And then the other thing is that there's a lot of duplication in the fields to give you a lot of flexibility. So you don't be afraid to just like use the enable toggle to just turn off fields so they don't show in the letter. And again, that's something you don't have to know XSL to do that customization. And as far as if you're just getting started, the most obvious use cases that we considered are the good old incomplete citation, which is basically a letter that says like, hey, you're missing information. And then in the note field, you can say, please give me the ISBN or indicate the author or something like that. There's violates copyright, which goes hand in hand with the mediation rule that Cassandra talked about. And we can give them a little bit of information. You've requested 5 chapters. You've requested 12 articles. You know, which one is the most important? We can't fulfill them all. Sometimes the whole ebook is a problem that we've had where people want us to lend them something that's only an ebook and we have to explain that we can't get it. And then you can set up a generic letter that doesn't have any boilerplate text except sort of like maybe any questions, call us, and just use the note field, which covers a lot of your edge cases. And then what we did was we used our Iliad letters to just grab the boilerplate text to adapt for the Alma patron query letters. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel or anything. You just start with what you already had and go from there. The basic workflow on these is, you know, I'm sure it's, I haven't worked in Iliad myself, but I'm sure it's kind of similar. You know, you see a request that's a problem. And so in Alma, then it's the ... menu, and you just click the send query to patron, and that little dialog box comes up that says email message, and you choose an email template. And then you can add the note to your patron and click send. So one quick tip in connection with naming your templates is you can see in the photo there that it's kind of narrow. So you want to give them short names, and you want to give them names that are real obvious, because once you have 20 or 30 of them in there, it's a long list to scroll through. So after the letter is sent, it does several nice things in Alma. It flags it that you have an active query to the patron. If you actually do the request, it tells you exactly which letter you sent and when you sent it. You can actually make a set if you want to, based on that need patron information. It's way down on the left in the facets. But if you want to have a set that's gathered together of everything where you've got a query out to the patron, you can use that facet. So that's pretty handy. And then if you've actually gotten an answer back and you've resolved it, there's a little checkbox there. You check that checkbox, information received from patron, it closes out the patron query, and then it goes out of your set too. So it actually gives you like a whole workflow that you can use. And then I just have a couple of extra slides here. I'm not going to take your time waiting for the boat ride to go over this, but just a few things to call your attention to. The address from field that was added, the new letters configuration, which Christine is going to talk about, and then the teaser on the roadmap that sometime at the end of 2024, we will have some ability to get the patron responses back when using patron query letters. Don't know what that's going to look like, but excited to find out. And then here's some just additional resources, the documentation I talked about. And then on the new letter configuration, there was a really nice video from Yoel Kordig on YouTube that explained it all. So I thought that would be interesting. So that's it. I don't know if we have time for questions, but that's the presentation.
We're putting the links in the slides, so when I put the slides online, you can easily just get right to it.
All right. I think you all want to go on a boat ride.
Thank you.
All right, so that's end of day one. Let's, those of us going on the boat ride, let's meet at 5:15 out in the lobby. Everyone else, have a good evening. Around the area for the boat ride, there's a lot of restaurants.
I know.
The conference planning committee, after the boat ride, is gonna head over right near where the boat docks to Famous Dave's Barbecue, where we're gonna eat. And you are welcome to join us and hang out.
That's not your cup of tea or barbecue sauce, you can, there's a lot of other restaurants, there's of all. Oh.
And it's like the like festival.
And apparently there's a food tasting festival in that area too, so apparently there's lots of options, so have fun.
Dirty ass car. No matter where I'm at, all this right?
Well, just, well, I
I have to go get them, drop it off after. What, right, you? It was nice to meet you.
pay parking, but I'm.
Oh, no, it's fine.